Hello and welcome, everyone. We're pleased to be joined by people from across Africa and around the world today for this GIJN webinar that is primarily for our African watchdog journalism community. Today's webinar is titled Investigating Revolutionary and Military Regimes. Before I continue, for those of you joining us today that are non-English speaking, there are interpreters in the room. And so I'd like you to please go to the below your screen. You would find an icon that allows you to click on the option for interpreters. Sometimes that icon may not pop up, so you may have to, you just see these three dots below your screen. It's showing on the right side of my screen, and you would find the interpreter to choose whatever language that you speak. My name is Busola Ajibola. I'm the Deputy Director for the Journalism Program at the Center for Journalism Innovation and Development, CGID. CGID is a member of the Global Investigative Journalism Network, GIJN as you know it, and we are based in Nigeria. I'm happy to be your moderator for today's webinar. As you all must be aware, Africa is at a governance crossroads. Since August 2020, pardon me, the continent has experienced 7 military coups or takeovers. It has occurred in Niger, Burkina Faso, Sudan, Guinea, Mali, Chad, and Gabon. And these have sparked concerns about a resurgence of military rule across Africa. And in addition to that, presidents in countries like Uganda, Rwanda, and Eritrea that are once touted as a new breed of African leaders have clung to power for 3 decades or more. And leaders in burgeoning democracy like Tanzania, Benin, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Mozambique are increasingly becoming more autocratic and are rolling back the political consensus gains that were registered in the past on the continent. Therefore, the need to focus watchdog journalism on the continent, revolutionary and military regimes cannot be overstated. Today's webinar offers GIJN a great opportunity to support colleagues on the continent by bringing together experts to share tips, tools, and resources that can help them scrutinize and scrutinize the political actions of militarized governments on the continent, and which often shrink the space for the media to perform its accountability roles. And this is precisely why we're gathering here virtually today. Before I introduce the panel, I'd like to share a bit of information about the Global Investigative Journalism Network for those of you that may not be familiar with the work of this international group. GIJN is the largest global network of non-profit investigative journalism organizations. It has 263 members organizations from across 97 countries. In sub-Saharan Africa, GIJN has 26 member organizations, and it works with journalists everywhere, in nonprofits, in commercial organizations, and also with freelancers. The network was established to connect and support these journalists across several spectra. And you should please check out their website at GIJN.org. I take that again, GIJN.org, and its resource center, and you should please sign up for their newsletters. And now we go to our panel that I'm very delighted to introduce today. We have 4 brilliant journalism experts who will discuss how to dig out information from repressive regimes, track the tools that these regimes use to subjugate their people, fact check and debunk misinformation and propaganda, and investigate strategic and geopolitical allies that help to keep autocrats in power despite opposition from citizens. Our first speaker is David Dembele, who is an investigative journalist from Mali. David is from Mali, but is currently in exile due to his critical reporting on military regime in his own country. David is founding member of the Malian Network of Investigative Journalists, RNJI, and is a member of the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ. He has done investigative stories on military regimes in Mali, in Niger, and in Burkina Faso. Thank you, David, for joining us today. Our second speaker is Samuel Baker Biansi. He is the co-founder of M28 Investigates, that's Unite M28, a nonprofit media outlet that conducts investigations, including using undercover methods and open source intelligence tools to expose human rights violators. It was part of the Forbidden Stories investigation into the Rwanda government and is currently in exile. Thank you, Samuel, for joining us today. Khadija Sharif is our third speaker. Khadija is a veteran investigative journalist who is a GIJN board member. She's former director of the Platform for the Protection of Whistleblowers and has a master's degree in law. She has done investigations into illegal logging in Madagascar, corruption in Angola, and arms trafficking in Côte d'Ivoire. She's a 2021 Yale Poynter Fellow in Journalism, and Khadija also published a GIJN guide chapter on investigating arms trafficking. You would find that on the GIJN website, and I urge you all to check it out. Thank you, Khadija, for joining us today. Our final speaker is Justin Yaga, who is a freelance investigative reporter from Burkina Faso and is currently based in Sweden. Yaga has seen his own country, once a sanctuary of freedom of expression in West Africa, become one of the worst offenders. He now investigates the military regimes throughout the Sahel and their propaganda campaigns. He has co-authored the expose, Africa's Ghost Reporters, with Al Jazeera. You all should check out Justin's story, Africa's Ghost Reporter. And thank you, Justin Yaga, for joining us today. This webinar will be about 75 minutes long. And our four speakers will start by taking 10 minutes each, to share their thoughts with us today. We'll take questions and we'll take comments, which I urge you to please post in the question and answer box. We will get to as many as we can today, and I'll be counting on Benin. Hi, Benin. Who's going to be helping me out with those questions when it's time for us to take them. And just before I bring on the speakers to be, and that will be David Dembele will be starting. I'd like everyone to know that we'll be recording this webinar. I think on that note, I'm going to ask David to please take the microphone. You would have 10 minutes each, to share your thoughts. Maybe when you are 8 minutes in or so, I will just check in to let you know you only have about 2 minutes to go. David, let me know if you're ready, and you can please open your microphone.
Okay, thank you, Madame Busola. Can you hear me perfectly?
Yes, David, loud and clear.
All right. Thank you for introducing me, and thank you for GIJN for this amazing opportunity for us to talk about what we are doing and what we are facing. So as agreed, I will do my presentation in French. Yeah, and I will check the time also. Um, Bonjour, chers amis. Je suis très heureux de me retrouver parmi vous ce matin pour échanger par rapport à notre façon de travailler dans le contexte actuel dans nos États sous gouvernance militaire. C'est une façon pour nous de nous mettre à jour et de voir aussi comment on peut partager certaines astuces et continuer à faire notre travail sans trop nous inquiéter. Alors, j'avais partagé une présentation avec nos amis de GIJN et je voulais en l'occurrence m'appesantir sur les aspects de protection des sources, la vérification des faits, la recherche en sources ouvertes, sources open et la rédaction, storytelling et aussi la visualisation des données. Slide 3. Et je voulais d'abord peut-être rappeler le fait que dans nos contextes sous gouvernance militaire, et particulièrement le Sahel, il est de plus en plus difficile, je dirais extrêmement difficile euh, d'investiguer, voilà, d'investiguer, et parce que déjà le travail d'investigation est difficile dans un climat, dans une situation normale, et de surcroît, nous sommes invités à le faire sous une gouvernance militaire où rien n'est fait selon les normes en termes de conduite de la liberté d'expression, tout simplement. Vous savez de quoi je parle quand on regarde un peu tout ce qui a comme atteinte à cette liberté d'expression. Et donc, ça donne du fil à retordre à ceux qui veulent faire dans le journalisme de qualité, à ceux qui veulent faire de l'investigation, à ceux qui veulent creuser, à ceux qui veulent dire la vérité par rapport à la gouvernance. Donc, vous aurez compris que, en tout cas, c'est tous les domaines de la gouvernance publique qui sont concernés quand il s'agit d'investiguer, et notamment la corruption, les trafics en tout genre, les questions autour de l'approvisionnement des équipements militaires, la question de l'éducation, la question de la santé. Vous voyez que c'est tous les domaines de la vie publique qui sont concernés parce que les militaires qui sont au pouvoir ont pris l'engagement de redresser la barre et de corriger certaines imperfections, certains écarts dont les régimes précédents étaient faute ou auteurs, tout simplement. Alors, dans le contexte actuel, il va sans dire que les larmes de l'abus et de la répression coupent, courent au pouvoir de la vérification et la liberté d'expression est confisquée. On ne cessera d'insister là-dessus, le journalisme critique réprimé et la prison comme issue au plus teigneux et au plus récalcitrant. Et la conséquence, c'est quoi? C'est que il y a une situation de mésinformation où l'information est fausse. Et l'écrasante partie des personnes qui reprennent ces informations pensent que elles sont vraies. D'où, encore une fois, le travail du journaliste qui veut faire dans la qualité est important, est très important, même si il est difficile. Alors, on a assisté à ce qu'on peut qualifier d'infodémie avec une utilisation à outrance des outils de l'IA. Vous voyez, où les voix sont tronquées, les vidéos sont superposées pour dire ce qui n'est pas, ce qui n'a pas été réalisé dans le contexte ou tout simplement déformer les faits pour atteindre une certaine cible au sein de l'opinion publique. Et ces vents de propagande qui n'épargnent pas nos populations. D'où, encore une fois, le travail du journaliste est très important pour recadrer, euh, amener la lumière sur certains faits qui sont abusifs. Et en la matière, il y a des conduites à tenir, et non seulement sur le plan de la sécurité physique, où il faut adopter de nouvelles attitudes, c'est-à-dire tout simplement, j'ai l'habitude de dire que la conduite qui vaille dans nos contextes, c'est de faire profil bas, tout simplement faire profil bas. Maintenant, la question va se poser de savoir, ah tiens, profil bas, jusqu'à quel niveau, vu qu'on est appelé, invité à collecter l'information, à la traiter, à la diffuser. Et donc, il va sans dire qu'à un moment, cette confidentialité va être interrompue. Si ce n'est pas au niveau de la collecte, ça va être au niveau de la diffusion. Donc, les répercussions peuvent être au bout. Et c'est à quoi on assiste. Et je voudrais quand même partager certaines astuces avec vous, revoir sa façon d'être, tout simplement. Je sais que la présentation vous sera envoyée, donc je ne vais pas faire de présentation littérale, elle vous sera envoyée, mais on est invité à changer, à nous adapter au contexte et à faire profil bas. Surtout, dans ma présentation, j'ai partagé aussi des vidéos où des liens de vidéos où vous pouvez vous prémunir de la surveillance, par exemple. Voilà, si vous êtes surveillé au quotidien, vous avez des méthodes pour pouvoir contourner. Cela dit, les outils qu'on partage ne sont pas forcément avec un degré, un niveau de risque zéro. Il y a toujours des risques, mais ces conseils nous permettent de rétrécir le champ de risques possibles. Il y a aussi la sécurité digitale, la protection des sources, qui est un aspect très important sur lequel d'ailleurs mon intervention va être axée. C'est que, tiens, nous avons ce devoir vis-à-vis des sources qui nous informent, voilà, de nos informateurs. Si elles n'existent pas, nous, en tant que journalistes, on n'existerait pas aussi. Donc, il y a toujours cette possibilité de faire en sorte que cette source-là ne soit pas exposée. Il y a des outils qu'on peut utiliser qui nous permettent de les inviter à utiliser ces outils-là pour pouvoir
Okay, so
minimiser.
David, please note that we're 8 minutes in, just
Yes.
against your reminder.
Yes, yes, yes. I noted it. I noted it. So, donc, il y a des outils euh, je pense qu'il y a PGP qu'on peut utiliser. Et certains connaissent déjà Signal. Et par rapport au réseau public, il faut toujours utiliser un VPN. Et en la matière, je conseille Proton que j'ai utilisé pendant un certain temps et que je continue à utiliser, Proton VPN, que je vous conseille. Il y a aussi le fait qu'il faut régulièrement faire attention à ces mots de passe et les changer, ou chercher l'information dans un contexte où l'information est difficile à avoir. Donc, il faut forcément recourir aux outils open qui nous donnent des possibilités de chercher, par exemple, de chercher certaines données qu'on n'a pas. Au-delà de Google, dans ma présentation, j'ai mis d'autres outils vers lesquels on peut aller sur le web, le dark web. Mais dites-vous que Google, c'est le plus connu certainement, mais il ne nous donne que 4% des contenus de Internet. Donc, donnez-vous cette peine d'aller toujours chercher en source open ce sur quoi vous travaillez. Et j'ai aussi donné des méthodes de recherche dans la présentation que je ne vais pas détailler ici parce que le temps est très compté. que vous allez pouvoir expérimenter par vous-même. Je vais au slide 9. L'IA comme outil, comme compagnon de travail, comme indice, qui nous donne des indices plausibles. Par exemple, je m'en vais citer Google AI Mode, qui est l'outil de géolocalisation le plus performant. Je l'ai expérimenté. Et aussi, vous pouvez avoir des outils comme Geospy qui vous donne la possibilité de vérifier une image. Et puis My aussi qui vous permet de donner, en tout cas, qui vous sort des images similaires extraordinaires et pas mal d'autres outils qui sont contenus dans ma présentation. Et dans les storytelling aussi, la façon de raconter le travail qu'on fait, la façon de rédiger, il faut utiliser des graphiques, il faut utiliser la méthode de visualisation. Et en la matière, je peux conseiller Flourish et Data Wrapper, qui sont des outils très pratiques qui vont vous conduire à créer des comptes pour pouvoir naviguer. Et il y a un conseil que je voulais partager avec vous. Moi, dans mes recherches, j'ai l'habitude de créer des faux profils pour pouvoir naviguer, faire des recherches en ligne. Je vous conseille la même chose, créer des faux profils sur les réseaux sociaux et ça vous permet. Il y a aussi cette méthode d'archivage. Chaque fois que vous découvrez quelque chose, essayez d'archiver. Il y a un outil archive.vn que je conseille. Et ça vous permet de sauvegarder, même si l'intéressé vient effacer, vous avez la donnée et elle ne sera pas arrachée. Quelque chose pour un petit mot pour conclure ma présentation. I'm just closing my presentation. So, ça, c'est en termes de protection de sources. Le fait de faire profil bas, c'est pas autre chose. On sait comment nous travaillons désormais. Il n'y a pas ce système judiciaire souhaité où on peut travailler de façon tranquille sans
Hey,
aucune crainte.
David, if you could wrap up, please.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just ending. So, um, et le fait de choisir pour un journaliste d'aller à l'extérieur, quitter sa zone de vie, c'est une façon de se positionner et de pouvoir encore enquêter. Mais la seule différence, c'est que vous ne vous retrouvez pas dans votre contexte normal. Vous avez cette obligation de composer avec des gens qui sont sur le terrain et qui doivent faire certains travaux pour vous. Donc, la méthode va être beaucoup plus lente, mais et c'est vraiment le challenge. Quand on n'est pas sur place, on doit dealer avec des gens qui nous font confiance et aussi de la protection.
Okay. David,
Okay,
I don't know
so
if you can
yeah,
hear me.
yeah, I can hear you. I will end
Okay.
here and I will wait for questions. Af-
Okay, yeah. I wanted to say maybe you could stop here for now. And then maybe, we can always bring you back during the question and answer time, and then you can share more perspective. That's okay.
Sure, sure, sure.
All right, thank you. Thank you, David, for sharing those wonderful tips with us. I don't know if Samuel, if you're ready for us. I think you're going next, and I would like you to open your microphone. Samuel Baker Beyonce.
I can hear you.
Great. Let's have you, please.
Yeah. Let me share my presentation. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to investigate revolutionary and military regimes using Rwanda classifies as a case study. This is a project we did last year. We can move to the next slide. So when I was I am currently in exile. When I was leaving Rwanda, I was working on last investigation. And this investigation was about soldiers that were dying in DRC. and Rwandan soldiers that were dying in DRC, and later the car crash that killed a journalist I was working with on this project. The next slide. So Rwanda in the Democratic Republic of Congo, trying to get through the footsteps of the soldiers. The question we all had has always been why, besides all the evidence that Kagame's regime is not held accountable. For people who are new about this conflict, who this conflict is new to them, more than 6 million people have died as a result of the conflict in DRC since 1998. And as we speak today, civilians are being killed in intensified fighting across North Kivu, now even South Kivu, and also as M23 try to advance to Uvira in the eastern DRC. We can move to the next slide. So M28 investigates corroborated with forbidden stories and 17 media platforms. This was 50 journalists coming together, coming from different countries, 11 of them. So we examined the circumstance of my colleague, that's John William Nwadi, who died in what the state called an accident, and meanwhile also tried to pursue the investigation that put him and myself, that exiled myself, into trying to finish it. And with the principle of forbidden stories, that killing a journalist, cannot kill their stories, we stood into this and managed to follow the story we are working on and completed it. But also tried to go deep into Kagame's regime repression, looking at the assassination attempts and suspicious days of many victims of his regime, and also the surveillance technology available for now, which the government used to silence critics home and abroad. Next slide. So this is what we came up with, which is Rwanda Classified Project that told these stories. You can find this project on Forbidden Stories platforms and also M28 platform, and all partners. Maybe in the end, I will show the partners that all participated in this project, and you can try to check out different stories that were published under this project. Next slide. So challenges of investigating / reporting without physical access, which is very common in the case of revolutionary and military regimes. These challenges we journalists meet, and in the context of Rwanda Classifies, the challenges we met while trying to really compile this project. So it is very difficult to verify information. Speed by which we can obtain information is very low, and it is difficult in assessing context, culture, and atmosphere. It's also difficult capturing visual and sensory details, and digital safety risk to journalists and sources is something that is always available, and it takes longer to build trust with sources, trying to really make sure you report, and when your sources even trust you in this case. And next slide. So this is what I thought could be a better way of really approaching it. So it requires to first build the network with the local sources, in trying to answer the question we had above, and also cross-referencing and verify information. You have to use open source intelligence and social media available information, expert communities, and also putting in consideration your digital security, business and government records, and also deep remote interviews. Next slide. So building a reliable network for local sources. I think for you to achieve this, you need to identify and connect with local news organizations and journalists that are on ground, NGOs and activists. Sometimes they have information that is not yet published but can be useful to your investigation into a military regime. Find intermediaries and try to build trust with them, and be cognizant of current conditions affecting the sources. Try to understand the challenges your sources also meet, such that you can manage to really walk into their steps and understand what they can and what they can't do. So find appropriate and secure communication methods to really make sure you minimize the risks of interference into your investigation, and also do your risk assessment right. Next slide. So on open source intelligence, using open source intelligence to report remotely is a new way to really manage to get a lot of information without being on ground, and also considering that in a lot of military regimes, they commit crimes and take these videos, they publish themselves online. Sometimes you can use these videos to really tell a story. So you can use this to do research and end up having good work to publish. I think open source intelligence, it's one of the new and big field in journalism that we cannot just explain in a presentation like this, but require anyone who is interested into it to really go deep and learn more about it. And if you are not experienced with it, figure out what you need and get help. I think Bellingcat Toolkit is a great start for someone who really don't have no knowledge about it. And also the books below. This is the Bakri Protocol and the Psychology of Intelligence Analysis by Richard help a lot. You can look at Amazon and have them. They can help you if you are interested into the field, because it can help you to investigate military regimes. And
okay, Samuel, we're 9 minutes in, so just to give you a gentle reminder, you have a few minutes to wrap up.
Yeah, sure. Next slide. Trying to speed up. Next slide, please. So I think all these websites can be useful. Like Lampire is one of my best websites when I'm trying to do some research. Some countries don't allow this website to work, others allow. So you have to figure out what your situation looks like and the country you are in, if you can still use it for that. But it's very helpful. Next slide, please. So on social media, you can maybe check into it, but you can find out which platform is commonly used by the regime you are investigating, of people that live there. Follow key accounts, and to find research contacts, you can verify information, find public and private groups and pages to save archives on social posts. Next slide, please. So this is one of the sensitive part of investigating the military regimes, which I think everyone need to really be to focus on it. So in digital security, it's like the instincts and the experience help you to really navigate with the digital security. Do we have the same skills over the internet or with other devices? No, not everyone have same skills. And threat actors on internet are not recognizable. That's why they are very dangerous. So everyone need to really put that into account while investigating the military regimes. And on awareness part, the skills we develop in our brain that allow us to recognize, identify, and take actions according to the level of risks we are facing. I think that's very important to really have to be aware of the digital threats that are available for you. Next slide. So Then for you to understand the digital security perspective, you have to understand what is a risk. This is a combination of threats and vulnerabilities. You have some threats coming to your side, but you also have vulnerabilities on your gadgets. And if these two are combined, you will end up having a lot of risks. So establish what you want to protect. That's why you identify what you are going to protect. In this case, as journalists, when you are investigating military regimes, you want to protect your identity online, you want to protect your data, you want to protect your communication. So you have to have that very clear and start by profiling data from every attacker, proximity, experts, and resources. You have to know who is attacking you for you to be able to defend yourself from that person. Next slide. So there is in digital security, we have attack vectors. Is the pathway an attacker or a threat actor can reach us and cause harm. Usually they try to gain access either to steal data, infect or harm our gadgets and the devices, or delete data, etc. Any vulnerability can be exploited on your gadget. So attack vectors a journalist may face, for a journalist, we can face phishing attacks, malware or spyware, middle to like the mints, this man in the middle attacks, and social engineering, credential theft or account hijacking, physical device compromise. These are what can happen to a journalist who have some risks. That means I think
Yeah.
I have.
Oh, you still have more slides up?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so because you've taken about 30 minutes, I believe that we would have time during the question and answer session for you to.
Can I finish on the digital security part, because I cut
Okay.
in the middle.
Okay, maybe 1 minute then.
Yeah. Next slide, please. So the digital security part, I uploaded this link, which is a toolkit on holistic security perspective, which I think it is very important while investigating military regimes. So the way you configure your protection to the context and the risk you are facing, these are the layers of the security. First of all, you have to be to have the awareness and the preparation. You have to update your devices. You have to have strong passwords. You have to be to have your data encrypted. All that. So maybe you can pass through the presentation later. The next slide, please. So on the digital security part also, you have to be aware of how your mobile communication work and how your internet works. It's very important for someone who is investigating to know that you can also be investigated, or you can leave a lot of footprints if you don't know how the communication part work. And it happens to many journalists, and sometimes you end up, someone can send you some documents and you think they are leaked and they have some malware into them, and you end up installing it into your phone. So you have to really understand how the internet works and the browsing, and also your communication, how it works in itself. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I think I can stop here, because this is another section of part which is different from the digital security. So maybe later we can continue about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel.
Sorry that I took a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. What you were discussing, very important details there, and thank you really for highlighting the power of collaboration. You know, having 19 media platforms, 50 journalists from 11 countries. I think that's one tip that we all can rally. You know, to push the reach of investigative reporting. Third on our list today is Khadija Sharif. Khadija, if you can hear me, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I have only 9 slides. If you could just change them every minute, I don't really care about my slides at all, so nobody has to bother to look at them. Okay, so I hate to bring his name up, but Elon Musk's Neuralink is a game changer. You know, it's a brain-computer interface that implants a device that can record neural activity and allegedly decode motor intention. So if someone has had a stroke, do they want to take a bite of a sandwich? If you're a murderer, do you want to pick up a gun and kill someone? So it's a godsend to the medical industry, but also to warring nations, the military, authoritarian regimes. And although we're at the peak of both fields, one gets the dollars and the other gets the cents. You can guess which. So this is called a dual use technology. And because we, the public, know that it exists, we can try to track it. We can file access to information. We can look for licensing agreements and contracts and so forth. But what about non-dual use military technology? So much has been done on the world's arms industry. 40% of the world's arms deals are corrupt, you know, corrupt intermediaries and brokers, deals that are cloaked in secrecy, offset agreements that have kickbacks built in as service fees. The deals are inflated, and the weapons, you know, in the case of Tanzania buying a naval system, they don't even need it, right? And so in the past, myriad stories have been done about this. We've done stories on the role of Saudi Arabia sponsoring weapons from Europe to the Congo quietly, of $1 billion in US and European donor monies given to the Niger being used on Chinese and Russian weapons, of, you know, Gunvor, a Russian-controlled commodity trader, bartering weapons for oil in Cote d'Ivoire at the height of the conflict and the elections. So there's so many stories that we can go into about physical flows of weapons and supply chains. And there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but I don't want to go into the warfare. I want to look at the lawfare. How is the design of death actually done? So this is known as a blueprint, technical know-how. It involves years and years of expertise and hundreds of millions in any currency to develop something called the background IP. Some months ago, we did a small story touching on a big issue. In South Africa, from 2012 onwards, the government state-owned and cash-strapped arms manufacturer called Denel entered into a joint venture agreement with the United Arab Emirates state-owned entities, Tawazun and Nimr. South Africa owned 100% of its background IP, which means all of the technical know-how, the billions invested, the engineers, the specialization. South Africa owned all of that, but it was decided that since the UAE wants it for themselves, they can customize it, and that's known as foreground IP. So by 2019, we'll go into it, the UAE entities consolidated under one big umbrella, more than 60 different entities called the Edge Group. But what they did was they conducted a due diligence on South Africa's IP for years. And a rogue employee in both instances gave them data packs or the background intellectual property. And once the UAE had this, they no longer needed the joint venture deal. More than 300 very senior Denel arms manufacturing employees, the engineers and the like, defected to the UAE to the point where even the Emirati board meetings were being held in Afrikaans, which is a language only spoken in South Africa. So the loss to Denel was billions in royalties, billions in manufacturing costs. But what the United Arab Emirates did was they transformed from one of the world's biggest weapons buyers. They are number 3 or number 2 in the world. Between 25 to 29% of all weapons are bought by the UAE. So they transformed from a weapons buyer to a weapons maker. And South Africa was the target, countries like South Africa, because they have very sophisticated arms manufacture. Any country that has a history of war, like Russia and South Africa and Turkey, they have very, very sophisticated domestic industries. But because South Africa's high court said you cannot sell weapons to countries in war, in conflict, in genocide, and you also cannot sell to countries that will be a conduit of or a supplier of conflict and genocide and war, in 2019, the UAE and Saudi Arabia said, we want to change the paperwork. We want to make sure the end-use certificate doesn't require inspectors to see whether we have kept the weapons we buy. We want to change it to diplomats. Now, diplomats wouldn't know what they're looking for. They wouldn't know where to look and how to look, and they wouldn't be able to raise their voices, whereas arms inspectors could. And so from 2019, there was a massive tension. And that's where you see the transformation of the United Arab Emirates, as well as Saudi Arabia, two of the three biggest arms buyers in the world, beginning to steal background intellectual property to manufacture the weapons in the UAE and Saudi Arabia and completely avoid having to buy it from anyone else. Why would they do that? Because as with the gold and the diamonds that the United Arab Emirates buys, when you steal the IP and you're a secrecy jurisdiction, you strip the origin of it and you manufacture it, or you develop it locally, you outsource it through licensing agreements to other warmongers, including India, including Turkey. You are able to sell these weapons to Sudan and Libya and other countries in exchange for whatever you want as a proxy supplier and financer, but without any trace. And so when the UN Security Council did a report on Sudan in 2024, they found an increasing number of extremely sophisticated weapons being sent to Sudan, manufactured in the UAE. Not rudimentary weapons, the kind of surveillance and reconnaissance weapons, the kind of very sophisticated anti-armor grenades, missiles, rocket launchers that belong to first world countries. That's the kind of IP that the UAE and Saudi Arabia stole to manufacture domestically and to send it out into the world with no trace. Now, why does that matter? Because to date, there is no single database that tracks the sharing, safeguarding, sale, and transfer of background and foreground intellectual property that is non-dual use. It's considered in every country in the world to be a national security matter. Even the World Trade Organization, which is based on TRIPS and Intellectual Property Agreement and GATT, says that it can be classified as secret defense systems and there doesn't need to be any disclosure of the IP. The Wassenaar Convention only looks at dual-use military technology. If a plane can be outfitted for humanitarian reasons, if a Neuralink technology can be used by the military and by medical practitioners. But nobody looks at non-dual use military IP because it's always classified as a highly sensitive national security issue. That means even where a private company in South Africa or India develops the technology, it is considered a sovereign asset in India, in South Africa, in Turkey, wherever it may be manufactured, and it is dealt with the utmost secrecy. And that's why, even though this technology, billions of technology was stolen from Denel, the public never heard about it because it's always litigated in private. And so when we are trying to investigate the origin, death by design, the essence of what goes into some of the world's most dangerous and sophisticated kinetic and non-kinetic military IP that is held with the utmost security in every country, there are very few places to look because all you will find are the things they want you to know, the things they want you to focus on. And even once a military weapon is created and you track and trace it, that is only the consequence. It's like the debris of a bullet being shot from a gun. We need to understand the design, the blueprint, the technical know-how, what the intention of it was, who has access, who is transferring and selling it and manufacturing it, who benefits and why. And those are the reasons why we believe that when you are doing these kinds of supply chain stories, it's important for journalists to also include in the story, even if it's not a major focus, who manufactured the military weapons that are being found in these countries, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, who is benefiting from it financially, which technological companies and partners and brokers were involved in this, because that is how you catch out the people involved and the jurisdictions where they can be held accountable. Because these sophisticated weapons are not being developed in the Niger or Nigeria. They are being developed in hubs that specialize in warfare and in lawfare. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khadija. I think that's a very powerful presentation, speaking to how journalists can track both kinetic and non-kinetic weaponry manufacturing, and also speaking to accountability mechanisms, since those weapons are not manufactured in Nigeria. For those of you that are just joining us, if you do not speak English, you can access interpretation for the conversation happening using the icon below your screen. And then all the cases, there are cases that Khadija spoke to, and some other investigations that the expert journalists in the rooms are speaking to today are all in the comment section. The last speaker, who is also our final speaker for today, is Justin Yaga. And I'll be bringing him up for his presentation now. Justin, if you can hear me, you're up next. Hi, Justin.
Yeah, sorry. So I can hear you. Thank you, Busola. And I will do my presentation in French. So merci beaucoup à GIJN de nous donner l'occasion de partager une petite expérience et des outils ainsi que des techniques qui, j'espère, peuvent servir quand il s'agit d'investiguer les régimes révolutionnaires et militaires, comme comme les régimes plutôt qu'on a dans le Sahel. Alors, je vais partager ma présentation en espérant que ça marche. Est-ce que vous voyez ma présentation ou...
Yes, we can see it.
OK,
yes.
So, donc, comme vous voyez, je vais me focaliser sur un aspect plus spécifique de notre thématique. Il s'agit de comment enquêter sur une opération de propagande et de désinformation. Et c'est cela parce que, à mon avis, les régimes révolutionnaires et militaires, notamment ceux qui sont en place au Sahel, fondent leur légitimité sur la propagande et la désinformation. Une deuxième raison, c'est aussi que la situation actuelle au Sahel nous montre qu'en fait, il s'agit l'enjeu, c'est l'opinion publique et il s'agit en fait d'une guerre de positionnement géostratégique entre puissances. Alors, la base de ma présentation, ce sera une investigation qu'on a menée avec la cellule d'investigation de Al Jazeera. Et je profite saluer ma consoeur néerlandaise avec qui j'ai travaillé depuis le début, Hanneke. Je pense qu'elle est parmi les participants ou ceux qui assistent à ce webinaire. Alors, il s'agit d'une enquête qui a mis à nu une opération de propagande anti-française et pro-russe, donc utilisant des journalistes et des experts fictifs, publiant un certain nombre d'articles dans des médias mainstream. Et pour parler de ça, je vais évoquer quelques aspects techniques, donc les outils et les méthodes qu'on a utilisés dans le cadre de cette investigation, et j'espère qu'ils pourront aussi servir à d'autres qui veulent investiguer sur la propagande et la désinformation. Ensuite, en deuxième partie, je vais évoquer des questions d'éthique et notamment des défis. En conclusion, je partagerai les leçons que moi j'ai apprises et j'ai aussi concocté un certain nombre de ressources qu'on a utilisées, donc notamment des liens. Alors, comment enquêter dans une région où la liberté de presse n'existe plus? Au Sahel, au Mali, au Burkina, au Niger, on l'a évoqué, c'est pratiquement impossible de faire une telle investigation sur place, mais il y a la possibilité de faire l'investigation et d'aboutir à quelque chose grâce notamment aux techniques d'investigation dans un contexte numérique. d'autant plus que le sujet même de l'investigation s'y prête. Il s'agit d'investiguer la propagande et la désinformation et ça se passe en ligne. Donc, comme on le dit, le contexte dicte la stratégie et les outils. Et parlant d'outils, je vais évoquer essentiellement des outils d'OSINT, des renseignements sources ouvertes. Et la première des choses est basiquement, on a les outils de recherche avancés sur Google pour collecter des articles. Nous, on l'a utilisé pour collecter des articles dans le cadre de cette campagne de propagande. Et il ne s'agit pas seulement de collecter les articles, il faut aussi les archiver. Donc, un outil comme Wayback Machine est assez utile dans ce sens, pas seulement pour archiver, mais aussi dans la collecte. Souvent, quand il s'agit de propagande et de désinformation, il peut arriver qu'on supprime et que vous ne retrouvez plus où l'article a été publié. En se servant de Wayback Machine, vous pouvez retrouver certains articles. Donc, ça sert aussi pour la collecte de l'information. Un aspect assez important de notre travail d'investigation ou de toute enquête en contexte numérique, c'est les métadonnées. Alors, qu'est-ce que les métadonnées pour ceux qui ne le savent pas? Ce sont ces informations générées automatiquement lorsque vous utilisez une technologie et ces informations-là donnent un contexte aux données. Donc, c'est des données qui, en fait, fournissent des informations sur d'autres données. L'exemple concret, c'est par exemple un document Word. Quand vous tapez un texte dans un document Word et que vous l'envoyez à quelqu'un, on peut retrouver par exemple des informations sur le contexte, qui a créé, la date à laquelle on a créé, est-ce qu'on a modifié ça. Et ça, c'est assez important. Concrètement, nous avons utilisé ça pour retrouver la source des documents qu'on a reçus ou la source des articles qui ont été publiés dans les médias à travers, par exemple, les documents Word qu'on a obtenus. On a retrouvé des informations qui nous permettaient de confirmer que les articles ont été écrits en utilisant un ordinateur qui est configuré en langue russe. Et même plus, on a pu retrouver un numéro de téléphone dans les métadonnées qui nous ont permis de remonter à l'auteur de ces documents-là. Alors, les métadonnées peuvent servir à la collecte. Par exemple, si vous pouvez trouver tous les articles publiés dans un site web en regardant dans les métadonnées. Il y a une formule, si vous voulez, que j'ai mis pour vous, qui vous permet de faire ça. Aussi d'analyser un site web et savoir qui est derrière un site web. En plus, par exemple, de ces outils, vous avez, bien sûr, quand vous collectez des données, Excel est un outil important pour vous permettre, par exemple, de structurer, d'analyser. Et parlant d'analyse, nous, on a utilisé un outil, un logiciel libre développé par des chercheurs qui nous a permis, par exemple, d'analyser le contenu de plus de 200 articles et de nous rendre compte en analysant donc le contenu, on avait un discours anti-français et pro-russe. Et ça, c'était une preuve assez solide plutôt que de lire un seul article et d'extrapoler. Alors, il y a d'autres techniques qui permettent d'investiguer et que je pense que vous êtes déjà familier de ces techniques-là, au SINT notamment. Et quand on recherche des personnes, généralement, on connaît bien la technique de recherche image inversée. Là, c'est un cas concret où on recherchait ce monsieur Grégoire Dongobada et qui est derrière, en fait, qui est un des profils qui diffusait, en tout cas qui était impliqué dans l'opération de propagande sur laquelle nous enquêtions. Alors, en cherchant à partir de sa photo de profil, ça n'a rien donné au premier moment, mais à un moment donné, on a pensé l'effet miroir. Ça, c'est quand, par exemple, vous pouvez faire miroiter une image et ça vous donne une autre image, bon, pas forcément la même image, mais retournée. Et à partir de l'image retournée, nous avons pu trouver des informations sur, à partir de la photo. Et en recherchant sur les réseaux sociaux, il s'agissait en fait de la photo d'un monsieur qui s'appelait Claude qu'on a utilisé. Et ça nous a même permis sur les réseaux sociaux de découvrir que c'était un monsieur décédé et ça nous a permis de construire un storytelling assez poignant. Et là, je voudrais souligner qu'après avoir fait tout ce travail de recherche en source ouverte, les sources humaines sont assez importantes pour vérifier et confirmer. Dans notre cas, on a envoyé la photo personnellement, j'ai envoyé la photo à un ami et j'ai juste demandé est-ce que tu connais par hasard ce monsieur et il a dit oui, je le connais, il m'a donné son nom et tout. Et ça a été un peu comme un scoop qui a déclenché, en tout cas qui nous a confirmé et ça nous a permis de vérifier. Alors, deuxième étape de ma présentation, comment enquêter sur une opération de propagande et de désinformation impliquant des acteurs. Il s'agit notamment d'acteurs pro-russes dans notre cas, et c'est Wagner et maintenant la junte pro-russe, les juntes pro-russes qu'on a au Niger, au Burkina et au Mali. Alors, pour enquêter sur ces régimes-là, ça présente beaucoup de défis. Par exemple, je vais dire notamment le défi de concilier notre...
Sorry to cut you in,
Yeah.
Justin. 10 minutes in. So
Okay, yeah.
if you could just spend some 2 minutes to wrap up and then we can
Okay.
take questions
Donc,
and comments later.
OK. Alors, le principal défi, c'était de concilier celui d'informer, de protéger les sources. Et deux pistes, en fait, partie des sources ouvertes et confirmées par des sources humaines, comme je l'ai expliqué. Et l'autre, c'est aussi étendre l'investigation. Vous avez peut-être un scoop à un moment donné, mais ce scoop-là, si vous publiez, ça vous renvoie, ça permet de retracer, de trouver votre source. Alors, en ce moment, il faut attendre et extrapoler parce que les acteurs derrière ces opérations, ils ont les mêmes modes opératoires et des messages standards qu'ils envoient et ça peut permettre de brouiller les pistes. Alors, en conclusion, on est pris par le temps, donc je dirais juste, je soulignerai une seule chose, c'est la collaboration avec les chercheurs. Sur ce domaine de la désinformation, je pense que les chercheurs sont beaucoup en avance et ils peuvent vous permettre même de découvrir de nouveaux outils, comme dans notre cas. Et je parlais de l'outil Uramutech. Je vous dis merci et j'ai concocté un certain nombre de liens ici qui pourraient peut-être vous servir et qui vous donnent où trouver les outils dont j'ai parlé. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Busola. I hope I could hold in the time. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justin, for sharing those loads of tips, investigative tips with us. And anyone who wants to catch up on Justin's story, Africa's Ghost Reporters, you'll find the link in the comment sections. I know that there's been lots of questions and comments in the Q&A box and also in the chat box. Some have asked whether they would be able to access the recording of this session or whether they will be able to access the presentation slides. I'd like to let you know that the GIJN team has promised that you would get, all participants would get the slides and links to the recording of this webinar in their emails tomorrow. At this point, I'm going to invite Benin to help with questions that people might have dropped in the Q&A box. Hi, Benin.
Hi, Sola, and thank you. I have so many questions, so little time, but let's see how much we can get through within the remaining time. Mwende Mkwanyaga asks a very interesting question for David Dembele. Given that many major AI tools are owned by or heavily funded by tech conglomerates that are also military contractors or sell to militaries, and that some large language model companies invest or partner with defense-focused AI platforms. How ethical or safe is it to rely on these AI tools as co-pilots when researching military regimes? That's the first question for David. The second one, how do you use the dark web in an investigation? What websites do you go to, for instance? I think I'll let David answer those two, and then we can get back after his responses. David?
Yes, Benon, thank you, thank you. So I didn't really, I haven't seen I have seen a question about if I receive threats while I was working on. So I answer in French. Il y a un de nos amis qui a posé la question de savoir si j'ai reçu des menaces directes. Oui, en fait, j'ai pas vu le temps, j'ai pas pu m'appesantir sur un travail délicat qu'on avait pu réaliser qui impliquait, c'est une collaboration transnationale, Mali, Burkina Faso et Niger, et avec des confrères sur place. On a travaillé, on a collecté des données, et on est arrivé à établir un système de corruption, un système bâti autour de la désinformation, un système où on a vu des militaires s'enrichir, procéder à des constructions un peu partout dans les trois pays. Et on a aussi dénoncé une tendance qui prouvait que les pays concernés, au lieu de croître, il y a une sorte de descente aux enfers que les populations vivaient en son temps et continuent de vivre malheureusement. Et oui, ça nous a valu ce que ça nous a valu. Déjà, pour ma propre expérience, j'étais sur place au Mali et quand subitement j'ai commencé à recevoir des appels anonymes. C'est pas la première fois que je subis des menaces directes de ce genre. J'ai peu pris la chose à la légère, me disant que ça allait passer. Alors, jusqu'à ce que je reçoive deux autres appels du même numéro disant, nous savons où tu habites, nous connaissons ta famille, tu auras de nos nouvelles. Et là, j'ai pris au sérieux. Là, j'ai aussi, ce qui m'a permis, encouragé à prendre cela au sérieux, avec beaucoup de sérieux, parce qu'un journaliste est aussi des sources à beaucoup de niveaux, des deux sources au niveau de la haute sphère des renseignements qui me disent de quitter. Voilà, et quand c'est comme ça, c'est vraiment sérieux. Alors, oui, j'ai quitté, j'ai tout laissé derrière moi, et c'est triste, mais c'est ça aussi un journaliste. Si aussi savoir que la vie compte parce que tu es investi d'une mission et tu dois assumer cette mission jusqu'au bout, partir et tout laisser derrière. C'est une sorte de saut dans l'inconnu et vous n'avez pas le choix, vous devez vous adapter à la situation que vous vivez et c'est ce qui est arrivé. Et donc, pour répondre à la question de celui qui a posé, celui qui voulait savoir si j'ai reçu des menaces directes, toutes ces preuves sont là pour pouvoir, en tout cas, attester de la portée de la menace que j'ai subie. Je ne vais pas vous dire tout ce que j'ai traversé après. C'est incroyable, mais c'est une première expérience. Que je sois menacé jusqu'à un certain niveau. C'est déjà arrivé par le passé, mais pas à ce niveau, vraiment. Benon, I don't know if I was able to answer the other questions. If you can maybe remind me about if there is a specific question that I have to answer beyond of this response I gave. I don't know.
Thanks, David. A question for Khadija. How do you investigate these military or revolutionary regimes when they have spread their wings beyond the borders? In the cases of for instance, Rwanda moving into DR Congo or to Mozambique. So I think the question is really asking about collaborative investigations into these military regimes. What tips would you have for people who are keen to investigate military regimes beyond their borders?
That's a very good question. If something involves, I mean, geographically must also intersect with political economies. If something involves Rwanda and the Congo, it also involves South Africa. South African mercenaries, financial banking institutions, and intermediaries have been brokers for a long time. It forms the legal infrastructure through which the Rwandans engaged in predation in the Congo. So it's important to look at the legal actors involved, the banking institutions, try and find the paper trail, because even if they try to disrupt a pattern, human behavior is invariably predictable. So they will create a new paper trail using very often the same actors that are involved. So you look for the brokers, the exporters, even the mailing addresses that are used might be duplicated throughout that process. Collaboration is very important. Also looking into things like, for example, Panjiva, whether you are looking for free onboard data or SIFT data, which provides a little bit more insurance and freight, you'll be able to see what is moving where and how, and also where they are trying to distract you. So when vessels are moving arms, for instance, or illegal contraband, they tend to use something called AIS spoofing. So when minerals from the Congo are leaving from the Congo to Europe, you'll often find the crew inputs a set of coordinates that are not real, that do not plausibly stand out when you track it vis-a-vis other vessels. It's called AIS spoofing. So a lot of the times we look at databases and we think that the information they put out there is true, but in fact it's self-disclosed and manipulated. So where you do have your paper trail, test the substance of it to see if it is contradictory, vulnerable, or manipulated, because someone might be trying to lead you in a different direction. So get the paper trail and then test the paper trail. Another thing I would advise is to try to get access to databases like ICIJ and like Aleph. It's not just leaked data that is crucial, but data that's in the public domain. Your court records, your corporate data, tax, land, any disputes between people. You can find things from here to the BVI if you know where to look and you know how to understand the meaning of information that's been published.
Right, thank you. Just one more question. It goes maybe one word from each of you. You might have noticed that 3 of our 4 speakers are in exile, and that shows you how deadly it is to investigate some of these military regimes. Now, the question here is, if you're based out of the country, could you share 1 or 2 tips or tools that enable you to continue doing investigations even though you are not physically present in your own country? I'll start with Samuel.
Yeah, thank you, Benin. I think it is always comes from your conviction of what you do and the reason behind it. I believe that journalism is a calling, is not just a job. And also because the threats, even in exile, they still really traces the journalist. And previously, these military regimes, to be particular the Kagame regime, have assassinated people abroad, have assassinated journalists in Kampala, have assassinated journalists as far as South Africa, as far as Europe. So it happens, it's real, but you have to always have a protection plan in place, and protection plan have to really be holistic. It looks at your physical security and also look at your digital security, and also in the other context, manage to really link both of them. And this doesn't only have to be from the journalist perspective, but also to all the people in the circle of the journalist, the people you communicate to. So this is a little bit challenging to some journalists, but it's really a good practice by making sure that all people in your communication channel really understand how it is important to be very safe, digital-wise, but also in the physical way. So having all those in place, and I think one last tip is to really make sure you have a backup plan for in terms of work, so such that just in case something happen, well, you lose your gadgets, you don't go away without anything. So you still have all your materials, besides the fact that you don't have these gadgets. And this is something you can only do if you try to educate more yourself into the digital space and the backups, making sure you develop really good hygiene in terms of digital space. Thank you.
Sorry to cut you off, Samuel. We have run out of time. So quick tip from Justin, just one.
Yeah, if I got it right, it's like tips to be able to continue working from exile. Okay, so I would just say we should take the opportunity of the development of open sources and everything that has to do with investigating in digital environment. And I will recommend people to check in Bellingcat's kill tool to learn how to geolocate or maybe just search people. It's very important.
Okay, thank you. David, very quickly.
Thank you, Benon. A very important question. Donc, ce que je voulais dire, c'est que déjà, le fait d'être en exil, ouais, que ça vous rend la tâche beaucoup plus compliquée. Parce que si vous travaillez sur des sujets sensibles déjà dans votre pays, vous savez comment vous galérez pour avoir des sources. Et
Right. Great. Adija, you're not in exile, but you have worked with journalists in exile. What have you learned from them that you can share as we wind down?
Yeah, I think very often journalists from other places cover
le terrain
stories.
et ces sources sont des
They
fois
cover
très lentes.
stories
Et du
with
coup,
local journalists, and they don't really think about the ongoing threat to the local journalists in Zimbabwe, in Niger, in Burkina Faso. And that threat is infinite. When they come back in 4 years, that threat will still be there. So journalists in countries where the risk model is high, they can be stolen from their beds for doing little to nothing. There are countries that have cyber surveillance laws where you can do a social media post that is harmless anywhere else in the world but there. So the risk model that is faced by many African journalists, whether they are in exile or not, because if you're in exile, you still have family in the country of your home, and they can still use your family to get through to you. If you are using Telegram, which is based in Dubai, that data may be encrypted to others generally, but it can still be accessed. Google provides authorities with all of your data if there is a request from a government. So we have to understand the vulnerabilities of all risk, our electronic communication, the way in which we access the internet, the vulnerabilities and loopholes. If we share an unencrypted WhatsApp message that's not set to disappearing with a source, have they taken a screenshot of it and send it to someone else with a name you don't want exposed? So my feeling is that even if journalists are in exile, they're still not safe because they have families. If you think a story will put you in danger in perpetuity, use a pen name, because there's nothing more precious than your life, and you need to live another day to do your calling, to make justice possible in our space and time. So my feeling is use a foreign media and use a pen name where you can, because it's not just you at risk, it's your whole family. It's not just the source at risk, it's their whole family. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Very useful tips to conclude the question and answer session. Very sorry we can't respond to all the questions, but we'll take note of them and use them to develop our resources and tips that we will produce in the near future. So thank you again, everyone, and back to you, Busol.
Thank you so much, Benin. It's been a very insightful conversation today. I think at the beginning of the webinar, David had mentioned that investigative journalism is difficult, but it is even more difficult when we're investigating revolutionary and military regimes. I'm sure the tips that we've shared today would be very useful. I'd like to thank the GIJN team and you, the audience, for your time today. I also like to say a very big thank you to you, David, Samuel, Khadija, and Justin for sharing all those wonderful tools and tips with us. Before I say goodbye, very important information. GIJN will host the 12th in-person edition of Global Investigative Journalism Conference in Malaysia from 20th to 24th of November 2025. I believe someone is happy and excited somewhere. We would expect to host more than 1,500 journalists that will be attending that 150 expert panels, workshops, and networking sessions at the GIJC. You can still register if you're yet to do so. And then to do that, you need to visit www.gijc25.org. I'll take that again, www.gijc25.org. We look forward to seeing all of you there. For now, and from me, and definitely from the GIJN team that has organized this webinar, I'd like to say thank you once again and goodbye. Thank you very much, everyone.